Hello and welcome here to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Another video coming up for you today. We are going to be discussing the João Gamper match, what we learned from that particular game as we saw a good performance, a lot of players used. What conclusions can we draw from that victory? We're also going to be looking at a very significant match that went on last night. Real Madrid against Atletico. Real Madrid losing the European Super Cup and what significance that could have on our season. There is a lot to discuss. It's all going on. Let's do this. But first of all, let's take you back to last night's game in the João Gamper Trophy. We beat Boca Juniors by 3 goals to 0. It was a good performance, and like I say, there was a lot of players used right throughout that game. And just a few quick things that I did pick up throughout the game that I wanted to share with you guys. Malcom, I thought, was very, very comfortable on both sides of the pitch. That was very clear. In the first half, we saw him off to the left on his stronger left foot. He scored a very, very good goal, fired it across the goalkeeper, and he did look comfortable on the left side of the 3. And then in the second half, of course, he actually switched over to the right, and it was a completely different position for him, but he was still effective. He was still receiving the ball, he was still making good runs, he was still working hard, and I do think that Malcom, with that bit of versatility, the fact that he can play on either side, much like Dembele in many ways, it will make him a very good asset for Valverde, and it also increases his chances of getting some minutes. We might need somebody on the left, we might need somebody on the right. He'll be very effective, I feel, coming off the bench in either of those positions, especially with his raw pace. That'll be very, very good, and it was good to see him operate on both flanks. The second player that I would focus on in particular would be Felipe Coutinho, who once again in that second half when he came on played in a midfield role, a lot more central, a lot more withdrawn, and that's very, very interesting because when he came on against Sevilla in the Super Cup just a few days previously, of course, he also played much more centrally, more withdrawn, and it is a slightly different role really to what we've seen him in since he arrived in January. When he signed, of course, Valverde put him straight in the team, but as the front 3 positions, he had him on the left of the 3, a lot more advanced, and whenever Valverde talked about Coutinho, he always spoke about him as an attacker, not really as a midfielder, and I think at Liverpool we all saw Coutinho in midfield. He flourished, he was very attacking. He'll need to learn a lot, of course, playing in a 3 at Barcelona, but at the same time, he can be effective from midfield, and we've wanted to see him in that kind of position, so it's really interesting now to see Valverde trying that out, potentially in the last few weeks ahead of the new season. Valverde's had a change of heart, and he would like to see Coutinho in that midfield role when we need him, when we need that creativity. But now on to a player who I felt, to be honest, didn't really do enough in terms of individual performance out there, who within himself will be thinking, I can do better. And it's all about MUNIR El Haddadi, somebody, of course, who the club this summer have decided to keep. We got him back from Alaves after a very good season. He did very, very well in that Alaves team as the main player, and now he's back at Barcelona trying to prove himself all over again. And even yesterday he was given a bit longer than most other players. He stayed out there until the 65th minute instead of going off at half-time, but I just didn't feel like he did enough. He didn't do anything glaringly wrong, he wasn't terribly bad, but I just think he needs to involve himself in the game more. He needs to ask for the ball, he needs to stand up and believe that he can be a Barcelona player, because at the moment we're seeing somebody out there who's happy for the game to bypass them, who's happy to watch other players do things and get involved now and then, but he needs to be there, he needs to be involving himself, he needs to have a bit of self-belief, a bit of confidence, because at Alaves, like I say, he was the main man. Everything revolved around MUNIR. In attack, he got a lot of balls, he got a lot of opportunities, and he scored a lot of goals and created a lot as well. He can do that at Barcelona, but he needs to have that inner confidence to know that he can do it here. He is a player in this team, he has got the faith of Valverde, but he needs to start showing that quality, he needs to start asking for the ball a lot more, and he needs to start doing more with it. And we will see a better side of MUNIR, because no doubt about it, there's quality there, there's potential there in what is still a very young player, but we need to start seeing it on a more regular basis if he's going to get minutes at Barca this season. One other player that we do absolutely have to talk about, and I spoke about it in my match review as well, but I got no problem talking more about this man. RIQUI Puig was absolutely outstanding again yesterday. Really, really impressive. He put in an excellent display at the Camp Nou. He showed no sign of nerve, no sign of pressure. He had so many good touches in some really tight spaces. They were difficult situations. He was coming up against a really, really physical physical side in Boca Juniors. You know, Argentina players are known for their physicality, their brute force, but he just shrugged them off. He was getting the ball, he was turning, he was pirouetting. It was fantastic to watch, and it is really good to see the kind of confidence that he has. That's what'll take him to that next level, because with every passing match right now, RIQUI Puig's stock is growing. It really, really is. There's no doubt about that. The more we see him, the more we're impressed by him, and the more we want to see. That's the really important thing now. We have to see this guy get regular minutes, because quite frankly, he's earning it. His performances here cannot go unnoticed, and we have to give him the opportunity that he is definitely earning. And it's that consistency, really, which is the really tough thing for any youngster breaking through. You can have talent, you can have raw talent, but it's about showcasing that on a consistent basis, and RIQUI Puig is doing exactly that. We saw him in pre-season, he was impressive. You follow up that with another impressive performance, and now at the Camp Nou, in front of a lot of spectators, in your home stadium, when the pressure is on against a good team, he performed once again. He's doing it with every passing game, and like I say, what we want to see now is him get minutes with this first team. The only downside really from yesterday's performance in terms of individual players, like I say, there was a lot of players used. 22 players in total took to the field for Barcelona yesterday, but it was unfortunate for Sergi Samper and Denis Suarez, because there was no minutes whatsoever for either player in the Joan Gamper Trophy, and it's going to be interesting now to see if there's a real deeper meaning to this. Was there a specific reason for either one? Denis, of course, only just returning from an injury that's kept him out for most of pre-season. The same goes for Sergi Samper. Maybe that was the element, but there's also the element that made Barcelona want to move them on, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see if either of these two remain at Barcelona in this team beyond the end of the month. But moving on now then, like I say, to that other game, of course not directly involved with Barcelona, but Real and Atletico going head to head. I mentioned it yesterday in the review. It was certainly worth keeping an eye on, because you want to see what these teams are doing, how they're faring, how their new signings are settling in, and with Real Madrid, of course, how exactly are they going to cope without Cristiano Ronaldo? And on first viewing, not that great, but to be honest, it wasn't all about the lack of Ronaldo yesterday. It was, for me, about that lack of leadership, that mentality, that strong will that you see with Real Madrid. Simply, under Lopetegui, was not there yesterday. They lost 4-2 to their arch rivals Atletico Madrid. After extra time, it went right to extra time, Atletico scoring twice in that period, but it started in catastrophic circumstances for Real Madrid. It took Diego Costa just 40-odd seconds to open the scoring. He bullied Varane off the ball, he bullied Sergio Ramos like he did for the entire game. Diego Costa, on his own, leading the line for Atletico Madrid, single-handedly bullied the Real Madrid defence, and that is not something that you would usually associate with Varane, with Ramos, but they just didn't cope with it this game. They just simply did not cope. Benzema then went and equalised. It was a very good assist from Gareth Bale. Real Madrid back in the game, and then they took the lead actually through Sergio Ramos's penalty kick, and at that point you were thinking Real Madrid now in a final, in a big moment, going to win a trophy, they're going to go and claim it, but they simply didn't close out the game. Diego Costa came at them again. He was ferocious. He got a tap in following a bit of poor play by Marcelo, who was trying to keep the ball in play, and it didn't come off. Then into extra time, when Real Madrid lost the plot. It's as simple as that. They did not deal with Atletico Madrid, who looked like they had more energy, they looked like they had more determination, and they had enough will, really, to get themselves over the line. And there was two absolutely stunning goals. The first one coming from Saul Niguez, a sensational volley. Really, if you haven't seen this goal, go and take a look at it. It's an absolutely brilliantly struck goal, flew past Keylor Navas. Even if Courtois was in the same goal alongside Navas, he simply wouldn't have got there. And that also came off the back of Rafael Varane messing around with it, trying to play out the back, trying to do something maybe different to what Real Madrid did under Zidane, and it simply didn't work. And then Koke finishes a great team goal to destroy Real Madrid 4-2 on the night. And not only with Real Madrid here, you've got to look at Atletico. Are they now going to go on and be strong challengers? I mentioned in my season predictions video that I would expect Atletico Madrid to be our strongest competitors in the league. I think they're very likely to finish second. They will challenge us for the title, and they will be a threat in Europe too, where we often struggle against them in the Champions League. But Real Madrid, back to them, without Ronaldo, without a big leader in the dressing room, they struggled. There's no doubt about that. They didn't have that edge yesterday. They didn't have that personality, that mentality they usually do in these kind of finals. Usually, they would have got through that game. Under Zidane, they would have found a way. Yesterday, under Lopetegui, they simply didn't do it. They didn't have the depth coming off the bench, and for me, if I was a Real Madrid fan, I would be worrying. I don't think they've done enough in the transfer window. I think a lot of their players are getting on now. They've lost Ronaldo. The players coming through aren't really giving enough for Real, and going into the season with just a few weeks of the transfer window to go, I would say it's between us and Atletico Madrid. Madrid for the league title. And so I hope you enjoyed the roundup of yesterday's two games, guys. Like I say, good performance in the Gamper, and I think there was a few things that we could certainly draw from that and build on now, looking at the start of that new season, which does kick off, of course, on Saturday. Tomorrow, I will have my preview for that Alaves game up on the channel, and we can all get hyped and ready for the new La Liga season. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of my conclusions from the Gamper match? And most importantly, what did you think of Real Madrid's capitulation last night to Atletico Madrid in the Super Cup? And is this a sign of bigger and worse things to come for them? Let me know in the comments down below. I will see you soon with more videos. But until then, as always, Vasca el Barça.